It was a regular Friday afternoon, and I drove to Walmart as usual. The weather was a bit gloomy, looking like it might rain any minute. I parked my car a bit farther from the entrance, thinking it wouldn't hurt to get some exercise. As I walked into the store, I felt something different about the atmosphere, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. I grabbed a shopping cart and started wandering through the different sections. First was the produce section, where I carefully picked out some fresh vegetables and fruits. Then I moved to the meat section and selected some chicken breasts and beef. As I turned towards the household goods aisle, I noticed a man who seemed to be lingering nearby. At first I didn't pay much attention to it. After all, this is a large supermarket, and it's not unusual to run into the same person a few times. But as time went on, I started to feel uneasy. The man looked to be in his 30s, of medium build with a short beard. Every time I glanced in his direction, he would quickly look away, pretending to be browsing the shelves. I tried to convince myself it was just a coincidence and continued shopping. But my unease grew, and I quickened my pace, wanting to finish my shopping as soon as possible. I hurriedly grabbed some household items and then headed towards the checkout. Just then, I heard a loud crash followed by people screaming. I turned around and saw that a large shelf had collapsed, scattering goods everywhere. People were panicking and running in all directions. Amid the chaos, I saw the man who had been following me now walking quickly towards me. My heart raced, and my instincts told me to run. I abandoned my cart and ran towards the nearest exit, but it was already crowded with people trying to get out. I changed direction and ran towards the employee-only area, hoping to find a safe place. I pushed open a door and found myself in a storage area. The shelves were towering, the aisles narrow, and the lighting dim. I could hear footsteps behind me and knew the man was still chasing me. I weaved through the shelves, trying to lose him. Suddenly, I tripped over something and fell hard to the ground. I struggled to get up, but a sharp pain shot through my ankle. At that moment, I saw the man appear at the end of the aisle. "Stay back!" I screamed, my voice trembling with fear. The man stopped and raised his hands, saying, "Don't be afraid. I'm Walmart security. I noticed someone following you, so I've been keeping an eye on you." I was stunned, unsure whether to believe him. Just then I heard hurried footsteps behind me. I turned and saw another man running towards us, wearing a plain t-shirt and jeans, holding a knife. "Don't move!" the first man shouted, pulling a walkie-talkie from his waist. "Security calling for backup. Armed suspect in the storage area, requesting immediate assistance." Seeing this, the man with the knife turned and fled. The first man, now confirmed to be a security guard, quickly gave chase. I sat on the ground, feeling both terrified and confused. A few minutes later, several police officers and other security personnel arrived. They helped me up and asked about my situation. I realized then that I had narrowly escaped a serious crime. It turned out the man with the knife was a wanted criminal, suspected in multiple robberies and assaults. He had targeted me and followed me around the store. The security guard had noticed his suspicious behavior and was watching over me the whole time. The shelf collapse was the criminal's deliberate attack to create chaos and attack me in the confusion. The police took me to an office where I gave a detailed statement. They informed me that the criminal had been apprehended and I was now safe. The Walmart manager came to apologize and promised to enhance store security. This incident left a profound impact on me. I realized that danger could lurk even in seemingly safe everyday environments. Since then, I've become more vigilant and aware of my surroundings, especially in public places. I also started learning some basic self-defense skills and carrying pepper spray with me. Most importantly, this experience made me cherish life and the people around me even more. I began to stay in closer contact with family and friends, no longer taking safety and peace for granted. A few weeks later, I received a court summons to testify as a witness. Though recalling that day still frightened me, I knew I had to face it bravely to ensure the criminal received proper justice. On the day of the trial, I saw the security guard who had saved me again. I expressed my deep gratitude to him. He told me that as a security guard, protecting customers was his duty, but he was glad to have prevented a potential tragedy. My name is Jessica, and I am a 29-year-old nurse. I live in a medium-sized city and have a busy work schedule that often requires me to shop after night shifts. Walmart is my go-to place because it's open 24 hours and is only a 10-minute drive from my apartment. It was a gloomy Thursday morning, and I had just finished a 12-hour night shift. Exhausted, I decided to stop by Walmart to pick up some household items before heading home. It was around 6 a.m., and it was still dark outside. I parked my car in the nearly empty parking lot and walked into Walmart. The store was unusually quiet, with only a few customers wandering between the aisles. I grabbed a shopping cart and started picking up items according to my list. First was the toiletries section, where I chose toothpaste and shampoo. Then I moved to the food section and selected some fruits and instant meals. As I turned towards the household goods aisle, I noticed a strange man who seemed to be following me. At first I didn't think much of it. After all, at this hour, there weren't many shoppers, so it wasn't unusual to run into the same person a few times. But as time went on, I started to feel uneasy. Every time I looked back, I saw the man not far away. He looked to be in his 30s, tall, wearing a black hoodie with the hood covering most of his face. I tried to convince myself it was just a coincidence and continued shopping, but the feeling of unease grew stronger. I decided to speed up and finish my shopping as quickly as possible. I hurriedly grabbed the last few items and headed to the checkout. While waiting in line to pay, I noticed the man standing not far behind me, pretending to be interested in the magazines on the rack. My heart started racing, and my palms began to sweat. I quickly paid for my items and headed towards the exit. As I stepped outside, the cold morning air sent a shiver down my spine. The parking lot was still mostly empty, and my car was parked some distance away. I quickened my pace, tightly clutching my shopping bags and keys. At that moment, I heard footsteps behind me. I didn't dare to look back and just kept walking faster. The footsteps grew closer, and I knew the man was following me. Fear swept over me, and I started to run. My car was not far ahead, but it felt like miles away. Just as I was about to reach my car, I felt a strong hand grab my shoulder. I instinctively screamed and tried to break free. I turned to face the man and saw he was holding a small knife that glinted in the dim light. At that moment, time seemed to freeze. My mind raced, recalling all the self-defense tips I had ever heard. I gripped my keys tightly, pointing the sharp end towards the attacker. When he lunged at me again, I used all my strength to jab the key into his face. He stumbled back in pain, and I seized the opportunity to quickly get into my car. My hands were trembling as I fumbled to get the key into the ignition. Just as I started the car, the man lunged at me again, pounding on the window. I slammed my foot on the gas pedal, and the car lurched forward. In the rear-view mirror, I saw the man fall to the ground, then quickly get up and run towards the edge of the parking lot. My heart was pounding, and my hands gripped the steering wheel tightly as I drove away from Walmart. I drove straight to the police station. There, I shakily recounted the entire ordeal to an officer. They immediately dispatched patrol cars to Walmart and reviewed the surveillance footage. I was taken to a quiet room where a female officer patiently listened to my story and reassured me that I was safe. For the next few days, I was consumed by fear and anxiety. I took a few days off work and didn't dare go out alone. The police increased patrols in the area, but the man seemed to have disappeared. They told me that the surveillance footage showed the man loitering in the parking lot earlier, clearly looking for a target. This experience left me deeply traumatized. I began attending therapy to cope with post-traumatic stress disorder, and took self-defense classes to learn how to protect myself in dangerous situations. Most importantly, I changed my lifestyle. I no longer went out shopping alone late at night or early in the morning and always made sure someone knew my whereabouts. Gradually, I began to rebuild my trust in the world. I realized that while danger exists, most people are good. My colleagues and friends provided immense support, helping me through that difficult period. A few months later, the police informed me that they had arrested a suspect matching my description. The man was involved in several similar attacks. I was asked to identify him, and though I was filled with fear, I knew I had to face it to ensure justice was served. When I saw the man through the one-way glass, all the memories came rushing back. I confirmed that he was the one who attacked me, feeling both relieved and a sense of vindication. I'm a 20-year-old male working as a software engineer at a tech company. I enjoy cooking and often go to Walmart after work to buy fresh ingredients. There is a Walmart near my apartment, about 2 miles away. One day I noticed a new cashier at the checkout area. She was a brunette woman who looked to be in her 20s and always had a smile on her face. At first, she just greeted me casually, but gradually, she started chatting with me. We talked about food and cooking, and it felt very casual and friendly. A few weeks later, she started asking more personal questions, such as where I lived and if I was single. This made me a bit uncomfortable, but I told myself she might just be trying to make friends. One day, she asked for my phone number. I politely declined, and she looked disappointed. After that, I noticed she often appeared in different aisles when I was shopping. Once, when I was leaving Walmart in the evening, I saw her in the parking lot. I drove away, only to find that she was following me. I took several turns to confirm that she was indeed tailing me. I decided not to drive straight home but went to the nearby police station instead. There, I reported the incident to the police. They told me they would keep an eye on the situation and advised me to shop at a different supermarket for the time being. The next day, I contacted the Walmart store manager and informed them of what had happened. They checked the employee records and told me that the girl was not a regular employee but a student working part-time. They promised to investigate the matter and ensure she would no longer appear in the store. Since then, I have been shopping at a different supermarket and have become more vigilant about my surroundings. This experience made me realize that anyone, regardless of gender, can be a victim of stalking and harassment, and it is important to stay alert, even in public places.